whatever floats your boat.
Today is June 27th,
Yes.
2018. My name is Joe Todd. This is an interview with Henry Waters in Bartonville, Oklahoma. Sir, where were you born?
I was born in Carrington, Oregon.
Pendleton, Oregon?
Yep.
And when's your birthday?
3/26/46.
Who is your father?
Henry Waters.
Henry Waters. And your mother?
Vivian. You want her maiden or her married name?
Yeah, maiden name.
Frederickson.
Frederickson. Did you go through school in Pendleton?
I went through, you mean, what kind of, no.
Did you start school?
No, I didn't go to school in Pendleton, Oregon. My dad rode the rodeo circuit, and that was the reason I was born, because they had the Pendleton Roundup at that particular time. But I went to school here in Bartonville.
Oh, Bartonville?
Yeah, Bartonville, Avant, and basically, then in Anaconda, Montana, we lived there, and I went through the second grade there before we moved back to Oklahoma.
Okay. So your father was on the rodeo circuit?
He rode rodeo circuit until I started school. Then he went to work for the Anaconda Copper there in Anaconda. Mm-hmm. And then whenever they had a strike, we came here just for a visit here in Oklahoma. And then he went to work at National Zinc and been here ever since.
Is that in Arizona?
No, it's Montana.
Montana.
Right. It's about a couple hours out of Helena.
Okay.
And Butte.
Okay.
There in Montana.
Did you start school in Bartonville?
No, I started out in Anaconda, Montana.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I went third grade through the rest of school here in Bartonville.
Okay. What year did you graduate?
65.
1965. From college high?
Yep.
I was 64. Who was your favorite teacher?
My favorite teacher was what they call Mrs. Sheets. It was in the third grade, and I was in love with her. Then she got married.
Was that in?
Nope, that was here in Bartlesville at Lincoln School.
Lincoln School?
Yep.
I went to Lincoln.
Mr. Stewart was the principal.
I remember him, Leslie Stewart.
Yep. Well, I liked that guy.
Why was Mrs. Sheets your favorite teacher?
She was pretty, and she respected her students, and the students all respected her because she was so nice. Mm-hmm. And when she got married, though, it just broke my heart. We put it that way.
Remember Mrs. Grant?
Oh, yes. Stonewall Jackson, as we called her.
Music teacher.
Her pink Cadillac. You didn't even go by that thing.
I don't know if I told you or not. Vassou has Old Lincoln School now has that. And they had a reunion, so I walked in and I stopped, and Vassou says, "What are you doing?" "I'm looking for Mrs. Grant and her paddle."
Oh, I tell you what, I was acquainted one time with her paddle.
Yes.
That was the only time. Yes. And from then on, it was, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
That was, because I thought I could bluff her. She didn't bluff.
No, she did not bluff.
She did not bluff. And Mr. Stewart, she was supposed to have retired years before that, but Mr. Stewart didn't have the heart to tell her she was too old to teach.
He was such a nice guy.
Oh, I tell you what, a principal, and I don't ever remember any of the kids that I went to school with saying bad words about him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was fair to everybody.
Yes.
But no, I had a good time in school. Got into a lot of fights after school. It was just regular fit. Wasn't knives and guns like it is today. It was meet you out behind the school. Okay, and then after the fight was over with, you had good buddies.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a lot of kids grew up that way.
Mm-hmm. So in college high, what'd you do for recreation?
Oh, I mainly worked after school on account of I've got 6 brothers. And Dad worked at National Zinc. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. And us kids, we'd go hunting, go fishing, bicycle riding. Got up older, and then we had scooters. And, we just rattled around, basically, and never got into any kind of serious trouble or anything like that. Well, Dad always found out. When Dad found out, we paid the piper.
You climbed the mound?
Huh?
You climbed the mound?
Oh, did we climb the mound? Oh, yeah. That's where we'd get cardboard and come sailing down for a sled.
What about Circle Mountain?
Oh, yes. Been on Circle Mountain.
What did you do on Circle Mountain?
Went up there and went hunting before it was all turned into housing projects, and went up there and just camped out, like kind of like going to Osage Hill State Park. Just a bunch of us go out and camp out, and it's kind of like that song, you know, about the worst thing that we did. Maybe have a beer with us that we wasn't supposed to have, and a cigar or something like that. It wasn't a bunch of drugs. I never knew what drugs was until I wound up in California. You know, I was plain old country boy, still a little old mouse, going to the big city where the rats were, you know.
What'd you do after high school?
Right after high school, I worked for H&W Maintenance, washing windows and stuff, and then I was drafted into the Army, but I joined the Navy.
When did you join the Navy?
The next day after I got my draft orders.
When was that?
In '65.
You recall the date?
Well, it was later in November or something in '65, and then I took that 90-day delayed program, and I left in '66 to go to boot camp in San Diego.
Okay. San Diego for boot camp.
Yep.
Now, why'd you join the Navy?
Well, I figured I'd see the world, wouldn't have to go to Vietnam, and kind of like the big ships, you know. I had a cousin, Joe Waters. He was on the USS Enterprise, and I talked to him, and he said that he'd been on it for several years and never even seen the whole ship yet. He's huge, and I never had an inkling of what something that size was until I went aboard USS Hiroshima as a chopper carrier, and that thing was big, and it's small compared to the Enterprise.
How did you travel to San Diego?
How did I travel? By airplane.
Airplane, flew.
Yeah, a prop.
Tell me about boot camp.
Well, when I first got there, I thought they got us there late night, gave us our rack, and they said, well, Reveille's going to be at, I think it's 5 or 6, I don't remember exactly, and got up. They had us all form up outside, and every time you always hurry up and wait. You hurry up to get here, then you wait for 2 hours. Then you hurry up and get here. Anyway, while we was sitting around waiting, we was looking out through boot camp, and here's all these guys double timing. The commanding officers of each company barking orders, and everybody's head looked like it'd been shaved. And here we got long hair down to our shoulders. And then these guys running around with the companies, they'd be looking over at us, and they'd be kind of laughing, and we figured, oh, brother, what are we in for? So, and then first thing they did, got out of our civilian clothes, packed them in a bag, zipped it up, put an address on it, and threw it over in a corner, and they mailed him back to our folks or to the address. And we had dungarees on in, and the next place we went to the barber shop. And that was a hoot there now. You walked in, barbers go, how you want? Oh, take a little off the ears and a little off the back, and you just zip, it's all off. New world altogether, let's put it that way.
Went to the barber shop. One guy had beautiful long hair, and the barber says, you want to keep your hair? Yes. Zoop. There it is.
Yep. Hand it right to you.
Yeah.
It was funny. Oh, I had it. But boot camp, we had, like, cross the bridge over to your 1-1 day. We was over there for so many weeks, going through different things, and basically discipline, follow orders, and do, you know, this kind of stuff. And rules and regulations. How to fold your clothes. When you went in, they would tell you what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And as long as you followed their rules back then, you made it just fine. And I wound up on a couple marching parties when I didn't quite follow the rules and regulations.
What's a marching party?
That's where they send you over after you do your daily duties in the evening. That's when they send you over to another company commander, and you start going through exercises. Like, give me 50 push-ups, hold your hand out, palms down, lay a Springfield across your palms, and you stand there until he tells you you can relax. It was a discipline, what they called a marching party. I went to one, and it broke me real quick. Real quick.
Boot camp lasted how long?
Mine was, mine was 14 weeks, but they took half of our company before we graduated out of boot camp, before we got orders. They took half of our company and put us in another, I don't remember the name of the outfit, they called it something, but what they were having shooting tournaments. The Marines, Army, Navy, and Air Force, they had a big shooting tournament going on, and so we were spotters and stuff like that for the people doing their shooting. We'd go out to firing range for their targets, and we'd pull the targets in the butt and this kind of stuff while they was going through their shooting.
What's your most vivid memory of boot camp?
My most vivid memory, it's going to sound crazy, but it was called 40-50. It was the boot camp jail. When you really got in trouble, you were sent to 40-50. You wore a red hat, and that meant you were almost in jail. And they got pretty rough in there with them. And it's like our commanding officer in boot camp told us, that 12-foot fence right there, he said, it's not to keep you guys in. It's to keep the civilians out. He says, you can go over that fence anytime you want. But he says, then you pay the consequences. We had a couple guys do it, and that's when I found out what 40-50 was, and I could see them guys still running today with them red hats on. And I decided I didn't want no part of that either. So, but no, I had a lot of fun in boot camp. We had a good time. It wasn't all that bad once you get to thinking about it, knowing, like our company manager would tell us, you guys do what I tell you, you do it when I tell you, and how I tell you, you'll make it just fine.
Tell me about your petty officers.
Oh, mean in boot camp or?
In boot camp.
We had our petty officer in boot camp. He was pretty good. He treated everybody fair because our company commander, he's the one that got elected our petty officers. You know, he's the one that decided who was going to be the petty officers and take command and do our calisthenics and our marching and this kind of stuff. And I have nothing bad to say about them. They just did their job because our company commander would tell them what he wanted done in the mornings and in the evenings, and they were just doing what they were told. And so everybody respected them. And then once our daily duties were over with, our time was our own, they were just like one of the other guys. So I have no complaints about them.
After boot camp, where'd you go?
I went after I got out of boot camp, I went to OGU, outgoing units, waiting for orders to find out what ship I was going to go aboard. When I got my orders, it said I am to report to Fort Hueneme, California, no later than, gives a date and a time. And I figured out, what in the world kind of ship is an MCB-8? I went over to the library, started looking for ships with the MCB-8. Couldn't find no MCB-8 ship.
MCB?
MCB-8.
Okay.
I didn't know that MCB-8 was Mobile Construction Battalion 8. CBs. Didn't know it until I got on base. That's when I found out I was in a world of hurt.
So you did not request the CBs?
No. No, I had no clue. I was figuring I was going to go aboard a ship out of San Francisco or, somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen that way. When I reported to MCB-8 at Fort Hueneme, California, next thing I know, utility green, combat boot, a hard hat, and an M14 and a backpack. They said, you're in security. You're going to be going to Vietnam in 3 months. I said, no. You don't understand. I joined the Navy. Didn't make any difference. So there's where I wound up going And then,
What type of training did you have?
what kind of what?
What type of training did you have?
When I was in the Seabees?
Yes. At Port Hueneme.
Well, at Port Hueneme, we had our own mock-up of Viet Cong villages, tunnels, and this kind of stuff. Then when I was in security, they sent us up to Camp Pendleton. We went through guerrilla warfare training up at Camp Pendleton. We were going through grenades, M79 grenade launchers, 3.5 rocket launchers, qualifying and all that, and night firing, this kind of stuff. Finished up there, and then we went up to Vandenberg Air Force Base for another guerrilla warfare training. And that was a hoot on account of, they'd drop you off on top of a mountain. You'd have blank ammunition. You were dressed in counties and guerrilla warfare equipment. And here they drop you off and give you a map and compass and tell you to be back at a certain time. And you had no clue where you were at. It was like lost trying to find lost. Mm-hmm. And we managed to get through it. And then we had two guys. We have, to this day, we have no clue how they did it, but they actually foggy. I mean, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. That's how the fog rolled in up there. They wound up in a missile silo, and they got caught. When our company commander got to them, their strike force there at the air base, they didn't have blanks in their weapons. We had blanks. We had just smoke grenades. They wasn't real. These guys were spread eagle on the ground, and they had a load of rifles pointed to the back of their heads on account of they thought they were trying to do something, that missile silo, and to this day they do not know how they slipped into that missile silo. And, you know, and the Air Force strike force up there, they couldn't figure out how they got in there. But they did.
Yep. And that training lasted how long at Port Hueneme?
Oh, God, let's see. It lasted, I think, about 3.5, 4 months, somewhere along in there. And then I made my first tour to Nam.
When did you go to Vietnam?
My first tour was the latter part of '66, and I was there latter part of '66 and quite a bit of '67. Okay.
How'd you go to Vietnam?
They flew us over on a C-141.
And you landed where?
Da Nang Air Base.
Da Nang. When you first arrived in Vietnam, what was your impression?
I can't really say on camera what my first impression was. But whenever I stepped off that tail section of that C-141, they handed me my M14 and 20 rounds, and they said lock and load. And then we walked across the tarmac, walked over to Chinook choppers, got on board that to go up to the base.
And the base is where?
Chu Lai.
Chu Lai.
No, excuse me, Phu Bai, my first tour was in Phu Bai. And Chu Lai was the second one.
Okay. What did you do at Phu Bai?
What did I do? I was in security, bunkers, bridge projects, rode shotgun, and rode convoys.
Now, what do you do in security in the Seabees?
Okay, we took care of the camp. We had bunkers built. Whenever our team, say the construction part of it would go out to build roads, bridges, we had a bridge project that we were doing, and we had 4 bunkers built on this bridge project. During the day, they had part of our security be out there during the day riding shotgun on the equipment in case snipers tried to take the equipment operators out. Then during the night, we would go out and set up with 60 cal machine guns and M79 grenade launchers and this kind of stuff at night to keep the Viet Cong from blowing the bridge up again. We had concertina wire strung, and then there was a friendly village just down the road from us, well, quote, friendly, supposed to be. And it just took care of the guys that was working, you know, our buddies. Mm-hmm. And then when we ride convoy, we'd go to Da Nang or Saigon, pick up supplies and bring them back. And I didn't like doing the convoy either.
Now, what kind of, were you based at Phu Bai?
Yes.
What kind of quarters did you have at Phu Bai?
We had, we just called them hooch. They were buildings on stilts on account of whenever it rained over there, it rained. And it had tin roof, and it had screen wire for the windows. We had flaps you could lower down if it got real windy. And no heating, no air conditioning, or anything like that. And we did have some fans that, guys got a hold of, and we'd have in our hooch. And basically, it's just like camping in a treehouse on the ground.
Mm-hmm. And did you build the bunkers there for the
Yeah, we built our own bunkers.
Okay.
Yeah, matter of fact, we had built one tower there so we get an overview of the sand ramps where the LSDs would come in to unload their equipment. And then we had bunkers built completely around our camp with tripwire, concertina wire, and this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And you were at the food by how long?
We were there in about 9 months.
9 months?
Yeah.
Did you stay in the area around food by? That's up in I-Court, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. You stay in that area?
It was just right off the South China Sea there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we had a bridge project. It'd take a couple hours to go to this bridge project. We were out in the boondocks. And then our doctors and dentists, they would go back up into villages, and they'd check the people out and give them shots. And we were their security too. We'd have to make sure that they were safe going up and coming back. And I don't remember the name of that thing that looked like a tank for go into the water. And
a duck?
A duck, yeah. It's kind of like a duck. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get in that thing. I could not get in that thing. That thing's only about yay much of it above the water line. I had to sit on top. Me and about 4 other guys on a couple patrols. I just couldn't. It's just too confining. I just couldn't bring myself to go in there with all that tons of weight. That thing made out of solid metal. I'd get on top of it and say, okay, I'm ready. I just unlaced my boots in case it's soaked. I could swim to shore.
Now, you were on patrol in the ducks?
Yeah.
What were you patrolling?
Well, we'd take the doctors and the dentist up the river.
Okay.
We'd go up the river with it, and then they would beach it, and then we'd take the well, they may go 5, 10, 15 miles up on the river. Mm-hmm. Then they would pull in and dock it, and then we would take doctors and the dentist, their medical stuff, go up to different villages, and they would pull teeth and check the kids over and that kind of stuff.
Now, when you went to a village, how could you tell a friendly village from an unfriendly village?
You can't. We just considered them all unfriendly. Mm-hmm. And you had to watch everything you had, because some of them little kids, they wouldn't be 4 or 5 years old. They could pick your pocket, and you never knew their hand was in your pocket. So you had to watch. And like a lot of us would turn our ammunition pouch upside down, so all we had to do was flip it, and our magazine would just drop down into the palm of our hand for a fast reload. You had to watch them kids, because they could unsnap that and then take a whole deal of a 20-round magazine out of your pouch, and you not even know it until you started to reach for it. They were good. They were little thieves, as far as I was concerned.
What are the monsoons?
What are the monsoons? Rain, wind, and more rain. During the monsoon season, you never had a dry stitch of clothes on. The humidity, stay up there. You crawl in your rack, you go lay down somewhere, it's wet, damp, and just, you really had to watch yourself on account of your feet especially, because we had hot boxes where we dry our boots out and socks. And you put them on, but the moment you walked out of the hooch door, you stepped into water that may be almost knee deep. And then you'd be tramping around that, and in the mud, you'd be anywhere from ankle to knee deep in mud. You'd be doing your walking post, making your rounds of the perimeter. Mm-hmm. You'd be lifting your feet 2 feet in the air to get through the mud and this kind of stuff. So, like I said, it wasn't no fun.
You mentioned the 8 inchers.
Yeah.
Tell me about those again.
They'll wake you up in a dead sleep, trust me. Whenever we got our other camp, this is my second tour.
Oh, that's your second tour.
That was the second tour.
Before we get there, let's...
Because see, the Viet Cong hit our... See, that's the other thing. Whenever we got to Chu Lai, my first tour in there in July, because Phu Bai was the second. There at July, I bet we wasn't there, MCBA did not get there. I was on the advance party. We were there on the advance party, and Hanoi Hannah come on. Welcome back, MCBA. We will wait for the rest of your party to arrive, and we'll have a welcoming for them. Once the main body got there, it probably wasn't 3 or 4 days later, our camp got mortared. 81, 92 millimeters, mortars coming in. Now how in the world did she know?
Now you were first at Phu Bai when you first went over?
Right. The first tour was Phu Bai and in Chulai up by the city of Wei.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Phu Bai was my first tour.
Yeah. Okay.
But how did she know? And we had, I think we had 2 killed, I think 13 wounded with a mortar attack. And I was at one of the bunkers, and I got called to get over to sick bay to help get the wounded on choppers and get them out. And that was my first experience with casualties. And I didn't like it. And from that point, it was downhill for the rest of the tour. Seeing different things that was taking place. And to this day, I cannot figure out even why we were there. We didn't do no good. And, you know, it's just, my personal thought was, you know, got a bunch of guys hurt. For what? They didn't want us there. Even the South Vietnamese, during the daytime, they'd work with us. At nighttime, they were trying to get in and do damage. And you always sleep with one eye open. A lot of people says you can't, but you do.
Yeah.
You know.
What's your most vivid memory of Phu Bai?
The casualties. Been with me ever since it's happened. You cannot get it out of your head.
How often do you come under mortar rocket attack?
We came under it twice, but we was in other areas where they were shooting, getting mortars and stuff, but they wasn't getting that close to us. The sand ramps, what we call the sand ramps, was where the ships would come in to unload. They had a river crew down there. They had river boats, and river boats would patrol the rivers, check the sand pans about the baskets with fishermen and see, and there's several of them got shot up pretty good going up and down the river right there. And it's just some of the stuff you can't get out of your head. You know, it's kind of like a picture. You can't even burn it. And, you know, but you cope.
You take an R&R while you at Phu Bai?
No, I didn't take any R&R on account of, one, I didn't have the money because I sent the money home. And 2, I thought about going, but I thought if I went somewhere, if some of my buddies were killed and I was gone, I could have saved them. If I'd have been there. You know, that sounds stupid, but, you know.
So from Phu Bai, where'd you go?
And after my tour in Phu Bai,
Yes, your first tour.
okay, we come back to the States, and then I decided, well, I wanted out of security, so I became a storekeeper.
Now, when you first got back to the States,
I came home on leave.
you did?
Yeah.
What was the reaction of the local people to you being in Vietnam?
I was labeled as a woman and baby killer on account of the media. Our news media, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the worst things we have out there even today. On account of what really got us started was whenever it came out in the newspaper and on the TV with the reporters of this little girl running down the highway where she had no clothes on because the napalm went off too close to her. I think everybody in the whole United States has seen that picture. And guess who took that picture? A Vietnamese photographer. It wasn't an American thing, but that wound up on the media. And at that point, it seemed like every time I'd go somewhere, I was ashamed to tell them I was a Vietnam vet. When I was in Vietnam and came back on leave, I tried hiding it. And it just, I've been spit at, I've been called all, any name you can think of, I've been called. And then now I see what a lot of the Korean vets has went through. And, you know, when I was home on leave my first time, the first night that I was home, I almost packed my sea bag back up and left.
Why?
I was too jumpy. My folks lived next to a trucking company. If they'd set the air horn, one of the air horns on their trucks off over there, I was under the table.
Was that here in Bartonville?
Yep. Or at DP Bonham.
Yep.
And I would be under the table because that was our incoming mail. And there was in Vietnam was truck sirens. And be walking downtown, I was with my dad. Walking down, a tire blew out. I hit the gutter. And no rhyme or reason why. I knew it was safe here, but after months dodging, ducking, you reaction takes over. You don't think, you react. And we had a gunny sergeant. His name was Kapuska. He was from Poland.
His name was what?
Kapuska.
Kapuska.
Yeah. He was Polish. He stood about 6'6", he weighed about 240 pounds. That man could literally walk over a dozen eggs and never crack them. That's how good he was. He was a gunny sergeant, Marine Corps. And he told us, you listen to me, do what I tell you, you do it when I tell you, and you don't turn your back. He says, I'll bring you back alive. He was good.
That was at Fubai?
No, this was stateside. He'd done a lot of the training.
Stateside.
He did a lot, but he went to Vietnam with us there, our first tour.
Yeah.
And he was the one we answered to whenever we was in Vietnam. And he just told us, he says, you listen to what I tell you, and you do what I tell you, when I tell you, he says, you'll make it back. And by George, he was right. That man knew what he was talking about.
You were home on leave, how long?
15 days.
And then, where'd you go?
Back to Port Winnie, California.
What'd you do?
Went back to the battalion and wound up going to SK school in San Diego, become a storekeeper. Took care of supplies, ordering supplies for the men and this kind of stuff. Plus, I still had to do some of the security stuff, shotgun riding convoys and things. Mm-hmm. But then I got lucked out. They wanted, I think we had 33 men detachment that was going to go to Okinawa to build a barracks complex there in Okinawa. And I got chose to be the storekeeper to go to Okinawa for, I think we were there about 4 months. And then that's why the battalion was still stateside. And then after our 4 months was up, they put us on a commercial airplane and flew us to Da Nang. Then that's when we got back on one of them Chinook choppers, and they flew us up to our camp up by the city of Wayne, the Yasha Valley, up in that area.
At the Chulai.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And drop us.
When did you arrive in Vietnam the second time?
Let's see, it was latter part of 1967, towards the end of 67, because we was there during the Tet Offensive. You shut that off just a minute, I need to go.
You say another instructor?
Yeah, my first tour there in Vietnam. Remember, I was in security. We had an instructor. This guy's name was Kiloa.
Was who?
Kiloa.
Kiloa.
Yeah, he's from Hawaii. He was, if my memory serves me, he was either a 5th or 6th degree black belt. And he was training security force in hand-to-hand combat. He was good. And our knuckles were raw. We were bruised from the top of our feet up to our shoulders from getting hit and throwing punches. And the only thing that really he was teaching was how to kill a person. And that's the other thing I was afraid of. On account of one of my first tour coming back, come home on leave, I sat in my dad's recliner and went to sleep. And when I woke up, I come up swinging. I was dreaming. And I was sitting there thinking, gosh, man, if that had been my mother and one of my brothers come in to wake me up, I don't know what, you know, and I got up right then. I packed my sea bags. I was going to leave and go back to the base on account of, I was at the point of, if I hurt somebody, you know, and that's my dad took me outside and we sat down, he talked, and so I went ahead and stayed, and everything worked out, but I come with him just, if he hadn't got up, I was on my way down to catch a bus to go to Tulsa to go back. Yeah. On account of, I was afraid if I'd hit one of my brothers and hurt him, or if my mother or whatever, but all my brothers knew that they wouldn't try to get behind the door and jump on me when I came in, and if I was asleep, nobody bothered me. My mother, she would wake me up with a broomstick handle on the bottom of the foot. And there were a lot of times, she said that I come up swinging. I don't remember some of it, but she said I would come up swinging. You know, it's just, after you get used to something, your reflexes kicks in before you think. And, you know, but the guy that trained us, his name was Kilo. He stood probably 5'6", 5'7". At that time, he may have weighed 125, 135 pounds. And he was pretty rough on us. But we thought, well, one day we was going to get even. So 5 of us decided we was going to see if we couldn't just whip his fanny. That's where I made my first mistake. He got a hold of me, and I wound up about 6 feet, 7 feet from where I started from. The other guys, they wound up about the same distance. We didn't even touch him. He laid all 5 of us out. But that's where I was smart. 2 of them got up and went back for more. I just laid there. I decided, that was enough. And like he told us, after it was over with, he said, okay, guys, he says, now, he says, you learned a very valuable lesson. Well, what's that? He said, there was 1 of me and there was 5 of you. He said, you were overconfident. He said, truthfully, I cannot whip 5 of you guys if you had done what you're trained to do. We didn't. We just all went to bail in because there was 5 of us. If we'd have went in like we were supposed to, there's no way you could have took all 5 of us. Yeah. So we learned another lesson. And, you know, that was, I still learned that lesson to this day. I just don't jump like I used to. It stuck with me.
What did you do in your second tour of Vietnam?
Second tour, I was storekeeper, ordered supplies for the battalion while we was up at Phu Bai, and periodically ride shotgun on convoys from there all the way down to Da Nang to pick up supplies, and then help wherever they tell us to go help out, like if they needed extra guards or extra night patrols or something like that, we'd just go ahead and we'd have to do it. But basically, my second tour, it was just ordering supplies. And I was basically in camp the biggest part of the time on account of getting supplies in for the electricians, the builders, and the welders, and this kind of stuff. And then dodging rockets. I got real good at dodging them things.
Now this is where they put in the 8-inchers?
Yep, that's where we had the 8-inch guns on half-track behind our base. They'd had them dug in back there. And then right next to them, they had a Huey chopper pad. And then we had the 101st Airborne. They were out in front of our camp. And any of the Viet Cong rockets that was shooting for the 8-inch guns, we caught all the short rounds. And if Viet Cong was trying to hit our camp, the 101st Airborne, they caught the short rounds. And we got hit several times over there. And it was mainly at night, and at that time I wasn't in security, but the security force, they took care of anybody trying to get through our water. But what I didn't like was, it didn't matter if it was my first tour or my second tour, it didn't matter. You always had this, you are not to return fire until you get confirmation and you get orders to return fire. Buddy, anybody shooting at me, it's war. You know, I'm shooting back. You know, and everybody felt the same way. But you got to follow orders, so.
What did you do on a night patrol?
We didn't have very many night patrols. We mainly, our night patrols consisted of securing our perimeter.
Okay.
And we just looked for any holes in the wire that Viet Cong tried cutting to where they could slip in. Mm-hmm. Checking for unauthorized people or personnel, you know, trying to get through our wire and that kind of stuff. And but now there is a couple interesting stories I could tell you, a couple funnies. My first tour, a couple of them CBs, no names or anything, but some of them CBs, they went over, they got into the officers' booze. They got into the officers' club. And they wound up with a case of, I think it was Jack Daniels. I think it was a case of Jack Daniels they wound up with. They went out and traded a case of Jack Daniels for a tank. Marine Corps tank.
How do you trade Jack Daniels for a tank?
These guys were sitting out on watch, and they decided they'd rather have the booze and stay in the tank. So, and these guys that got the booze from the officers' quarters, they were equipment operators. So, standing out there with the main gate watch, here come a tank down the road. Turned in, one of the CBs raised up and says, "Hey, we're going on in, is it okay?" "Yeah, go ahead." So waved them on through, but we didn't know where they were going with it. They went down to the officers' quarters, demanded more booze, and they run the muzzle of that cannon into the officers' club, demanded more booze, and one of the officers, "Is that thing loaded?" "Just a minute, we'll pull the trigger and see." Good thing they didn't, because it had a live round in it. Anyway, they got it all straightened out.
What happened to them?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, those guys worked for any off-duty time for the rest of the time. They were supposed to went to the Nang Brig, but they didn't because they were drunk. They'd been drinking that Jack before they traded for the tank. And so they got the tank back. They tore up the road in camp. They had to go fix the road, that tank track, and it was, after it was all over with, it was kind of funny. And then, my first tour there too. Now our security force, we actually caused more damage to our battalion than the Viet Cong did with the mortar attacks.
Why?
We had a party. 4th of July, my first tour.
This is Fubai.
Yeah, this is the Fubai, my first tour.
What did you do?
Well, we decided to celebrate the 4th of July. MCB 11 was our relieving battalion. So we was all out in our bunkers. Got on the sound power phones, talking to each one. Said, "Okay." Had it all wired in. Said, "Okay." You know what a pom-pom flare is? Okay. We decided, well, we'll just shoot off a few pom-pom flares.
Tell me what a pom-pom flare is.
Pom-pom flare is a little tube about that big around, and it's about this long. You take the cap off this end, stick it around on the bottom, firmly hold that in this hand, take this hand, and as you smack the bottom, it's got a firing pin there. It shoots a flare out there that lights up the sky. So we decided, well, we're going to light up the sky for the 4th of July. So we're standing there, and one of the guys, he didn't know how to use the flare. He went, the flare went right back through camp. Some joker was coming out of one of the hooches, hollered, "Incoming mail." Somebody hit the incoming mail siren, and as they cleared the hooches, whenever morning showed up, our battalion had like, I think it was 132 casualties of bruises, twisted ankles, broken arms. So we filled sandbags for the rest of our tour in Vietnam. I filled enough sandbags I could have put probably 4 foot wide, 20 feet high around Bartonville. my hands are so sore from tying those sandbags up. I'll tell you, I'll never forget that. Like, our yearbook, it has it under our yearbook we got from the battalion. I don't know where it's at right now, but it had that little incident in the yearbook.
That was July 4th of
67.
67.
Yeah. Yeah, it really made a big impact. And what was good about it was not quite half the security was in the bunkers that night. The other half were in their hoochers sleep. Next morning, our commanding officer had the whole security force line up. And he said, all right, who shot off them pom-pom flares last night? He goes, attention. We all jumped to attention. He says, all right, the guilty party that shut those flares off, take one step forward on my command. He gave the command to step forward. The whole security force stepped forward. Everybody took the blame, so we all feel sandbags. So we stuck together, though. No, we had some good times. Yes, I've got to say, we had some funny times. We had some good times, but by the same token, there's other memories that you just can't get out of your head.
Oh yeah.
But back up at Fubai, up around the city away, we was up there during 68 Tet Offensive.
What did you do during Tet?
Head. Kept your head down on account of, I was in, like I said, supplies. I wasn't out on patrols or anything like that where some of the guys was. And where our camp was up there, we was pretty well surrounded with the 101st Airborne out in front of us, the chopper pad back behind us, some 8-inch guns back on half track with the Army. And but I've seen those choppers come in, and how those pilots flew them choppers back in is beyond me. I kind of be as many bullet holes in them. It's a wonder the things even flew. And one of the small reconnaissance chopper, when it came in, it was smoking, and whenever it landed, the pilot and the co-pilot were both dead. And after the doctor said there's no rhyme and reason why it even made it back on account, he says both of them shot up. And then some of the other stuff that's gruesome, I'm not even going to talk about that I've seen. I just don't talk about it. But it's kind of like this old saying that I got. I don't know where I heard it from somewhere. You know, you always hear about the Marine Corps is better than the Army's better than the Navy's better than the Coast Guard. But you know, I look at it this way. We got 5 branches of the service. You got your Army, you got your Marines, you got your Air Force, you got your Coast Guard, and you got your Navy. Okay, you take those 5 organizations, you put them together, what do you got? You got a fist. It takes all 5 of them to make that fist. And that's why we're strong today. Because we got it. Now we're going to have 6 with the president getting this space thing in. So I'd be the thumbs up, I guess you could say. I don't know.
Space Force.
Space Force, yep. But no, I've always thought of it that way. And, you know, I know a lot of, on the military honor guard, there's guys on there that outrank me many times over. I think I'm the lowest ranking person on the honor guard. But those guys I could talk to. And so they've been through stuff. And Charlie, he quit blowing the bugle at 94 years old.
Charlie Martin, he flew the hump.
Yep. I'll tell you what, that old man, I visit with him, and man, you talk about respecting a man, I respect him. He'd tell me some stuff. He flew bombers, and just, they're good guys. I mean,
You get the Ashaw Valley.
You what?
You get the Ashaw Valley.
Yeah.
What'd you do there?
We drove there, and we just did a little bit, and we turned around and come back. We wasn't over but maybe 2 days just piddling. And
What'd you do there?
looking around. We just went looking around is what we did. Matter of fact, it was whenever I was supposed to take one of my R&Rs. I don't think our company commander knew about it, but we took his Jeep. I don't think he knew about it. I don't think he ever found it. Because I was in supplies, I could get that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we took his Jeep and we drove. And we went up the city away and looked around. Wound up in one area where it's a wonder that we even made it back out of it, because it was a practice place for rounds coming in, you know. And then I saw one thing I do remember: the USS New Jersey. I saw rounds coming over our camp. You can see them suckers. They were huge. And they were, that's whenever we was up at Fubai, my second tour, we was sitting there, and our CP bunker said, "Hey guys, the New Jersey's going to send over 4 rounds. He said, first round's coming over is going to be a squealer." And he said, and then you look behind it, and they gave us the directions to look, there'd be 3 more rounds. Okay, so we heard that thing come over, got to watch it, and pretty soon you could see them. Here they come, just like this, heading into the Oshaw Valley, and you could hear them go off. And I'm thinking, whatever's underneath them things. And that was after they got all the guns computerized on that New Jersey. 15 miles, 17 miles out, or 21 miles out, put a dime on the beach, call in the cord to that dime, let them fire, you won't see the dime again. That's how good that was. It might only hit right on the dime, but it's going to be where you won't find that dime, let me put it that way.
How long were you at Chulai?
A year. Was up there. Both places was a complete tour. And then they wanted me to go back to my third, and I told them no. And tell you what, they put me on that rust bucket out of San Francisco. I wished I went back to Vietnam.
Rust bucket?
Yeah. Ship. A reefer ship.
Tell me about coming home from Chulai.
When I came home, got back to Port Hueneme, came home, I basically, all the guys I ran around with, a bunch of them were married, a bunch of them had left, and I just basically visited with my folks. And told them I was going to go aboard a ship in San Francisco. And I thought of going re-up and going back. And then I got to thinking, well, I didn't like that ship they put me on.
What ship did you go on?
The USS Regulus. It was a reefer ship out of San Francisco.
What kind of ship?
It was a reefer, a supply ship. They'd go out and they'd take supplies out for the aircraft carriers, destroyers, and this kind of stuff.
What was your job on the ship?
My storekeeper, I was in charge of. I didn't do nothing except chip paint and paint. On account I was in dry dock the whole time I was on it for the rest of my enlistment.
What's the name of the ship?
Regulus, USS Regulus. And all I done was chip paint and put down red lead as a base coat, and paint over it with battleship gray. And if I had stayed on board that ship, if I'd have re-upped and stayed on it, then we'd have been loading, ammunition, food, clothing, stuff like that onto it. Then they'd go out to whatever ships they were designated to go resupply of food, ammunition, and clothing, whatever, medicine, this kind of stuff.
And you said you were in the Iwo Jima?
Yeah, we went to San Diego, a buddy of mine. We drove down to San Diego. We just went aboard it to look around, got lost.
Okay.
We got lost on it. That thing's, it's a small one, but it's big.
Is that an aircraft carrier?
Yeah, it's a chopper pad. It's a chopper carrier, yeah.
Okay.
It's a chopper. That thing was big. We got lost on it. I felt like a complete idiot on account of, we was walking around there, and we had our Navy blues on at that time. And I'm walking around there, and I'm trying to figure out which way do you get out of this thing. I finally had to stop one of the sailors aboard the ship and say, "How do you get back up topside?" He looked over. I said, "Look," I said, "we may be in Navy uniform, but I'm with the Seabees." I said, "I know nothing about a ship. I can tell you where the bow and the fantail's at, and that's all I know, port and starboard, and that's it." I said, "Now how do I get topside?" He says, "Oh, really?" He said, "Just go up that, and go here and go up that." And he says, "You'll be topside." I just go up 2 flights with it. I didn't know where I was at. I might as well have been lost in the jungle aboard that thing, And but no, it was the only time. Then when I got aboard that reefer ship in San Francisco, It was in for new boilers, bunch of work. It was in dry dock the whole time I was on board it, except for a shakedown cruise. I went underneath the Golden Gate Bridge for a 12-hour shakedown cruise and came back. And that's the extent of my sea duty in the Navy. I didn't like it. That thing, I was chipping paint in one of the bulkheads there. So I'm chipping along, my chisel goes plumb through the bulkhead. Rust. I'm thinking, wait a minute, just a minute. This thing's going to go out there, bounce around out there in that ocean. Doesn't matter if there's typhoons, hurricanes, or what out there. No. That's one thing that kept me from re-upping, because I did not want to float around on one of them things. That scared me worse than Vietnam did, believe it or not.
How long in the CB, in the Navy?
I was in it for 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
When did you get your discharge?
1969.
When in 69?
Yep.
When?
Oh, got back in 68. It was either in February or March, I think it was. Yeah, they went ahead and gave me 2 months discharge early on account of, that was when my dad had that one heart attack, and they didn't think he was going to make it, so they figured, well, they just go ahead and give me a discharge and send me home. So,
did you take an R&R while you were in Vietnam?
no, never did take on.
Any USO shows come through?
We had several USO shows come through, but we never saw, like Jack Benny or any of them. These were, they were good USO shows that come through. They were good. And then whenever, what's her name, Jane Fonda made that deal about Vietnam, that just turned me off from her right there. Yeah. I wouldn't go watch her to this day. I still don't go. I don't even watch her on TV do anything.
Were you over there when the North Koreans got the Pueblo?
No.
Okay.
No. See, that was the other thing. Our problem over there was it wasn't North Vietnamese, it was the hardcore Chinese. And matter of fact, that whenever we first entered that over there, if they had left the military alone, it had been over within a year. On account of the first 3 or 4 battles they had, the North Vietnamese were wiped out. Because I was reading an article, and it was on my phone. I was reading an article on my phone. It's one camp. I forgot how many U.S. Marines were in at this camp, but over 600 North Vietnamese hit them that night. Whenever morning came around, they estimated 600 Viet Cong dead. We lost 13 and 35 wounded. And that was whenever your North Korea came in. I mean, that's whenever your hardcore Chinese started coming in, because that's what we were fighting, was the Chinese. It wasn't the Vietnam. Because but even during Tet Offensive, I'd say the biggest part of it was your Chinese. Mm-hmm. And they were filtering in by the thousands. And then the Ho Chi Minh Lee Trail, they had that thing, where they just had a solid supply through there. And I saw Puff the Magic Dragon one time. Man, when that thing opened up now, you talk about some firepower. And whenever that thing was flying, you talk about, I guarantee you, Viet Cong or whoever, they was looking for cover. Because that thing had a lot of firepower. Never did get inside of it, but I saw it flying one time. And I thought, whoa, that thing's got some fire.
What did you do after you got your discharge?
What did I what?
What did you do after you got your discharge?
Yeah, after I got my discharge, I came home, went to work, and
where'd you go to work?
Went to work for a company out of Oklahoma City that was called Sooner Engineering. I was taking some courses out at Tri-County, and I went to work for them, and worked up the old Dewey Portland cement plant. They bought the whole facility up there, and they were liquidating that whole plant. And so I was up there. People would come in. I was selling equipment to them, and getting people to come in to load it up, get it delivered. Then after we done so much of that up there, the company took me down to Oklahoma City. I was working out of their place there down in Oklahoma City. Then I was in a car wreck I got married while I was down there, And I think we were down there about 6 months, and I was in a car wreck. An officer worked for the Oklahoma Department of Public Safety. I was sitting dead still. He hit me at 65 miles an hour in the rear. That's what put me in the hospital. And I was off work for over a year. And so we had to move back up here then on account of I couldn't do nothing. And then I worked for different places, but I wound up going to work for, back then it was TRW down at Red Pump. And then Camco bought them out, and then Schlumberger bought them out, and put in my time down there and finally retired from down there because I came down with cancer, chemical agents. And
I didn't ask, when you're in Vietnam, do you come into contact with any mountain yards?
we come into contact with a lot of Australians. And
The mountain yards of the Aborigines, they live up in the hills.
no, I never come into contact with any of them.
Okay.
Now on account of, never would come into contact with some of the Limeys now. They were a pretty rough bunch of guys. They stayed to themselves, but they were rough. And then what I didn't like was the Republic of Korea troops that we had. They were supposed to be watching our back at times. And the Arvins that was supposed to be there, like on bridge projects and stuff, we always kept them in front of us. On account of, if you have them behind you, they're supposed to be watching your back door. You'd be watching the front door, but you turn around and look, there wouldn't be nobody there. And how them guys slip out of there, they'd be gone. Especially if we got word that the Viet Cong was going to hit the bridge project or the village or whatever, they'd be gone.
What's your most vivid memory of Vietnam?
Well, it's going to sound kind of crazy, but it was the weather. Hot, miserable, wet, and damp. And it seemed like it was either hot during the summer or the monsoon season stuff over there. It was just wet all the time. And the other thing I couldn't get over was, but really, well, one of the most vivid things was the people. You see an old man sitting there on the ground, you think, man, he's got to be 80, 90 years old, 35, 40 years old. And kids growing up, I love kids. And that was the hardest thing for me over there, was tell one of them kids, did him out, and point a gun at him. That was one of the hardest things in the world for me to have to do. Because I'd be thinking of my brothers and that kind of stuff. But you didn't want to get close to them, and I never did. But I just hated to tell little kids, it didn't matter if it was a boy or girl, take that M14 and stick it between their eyes and tell them, "Deed him out." I didn't want you around me, And the reason for that is it's self-explanatory. You've heard stories, and so, but that was hard for me to do. A lot of them kids I just love to pick up and just take home. Some of the people over there, you take the Vietnamese that's mixed with the French. Oh, they're beautiful kids. Oh, they were beautiful kids. We had this little girl came down to the bridge site, and I got acquainted with her while they was working on the bridge site. She was 3 years old. She'd come down there and I'd visit. Oh, real good English. Smart little girl. She had dark black hair and blue eyes. Oh, she was beautiful. And I got to talking to the elder there in the village. Every village over there, that has their elder, that does, their spokesman or whoever. And she had no living relatives. Mama saw them, Papa saw them, brothers, sisters, aunt, they'd all been killed by the Viet Cong. And I said, well, what is she going to do? And she says, well, she just goes from house to house every day. That's the way she lives. And so I got a message back to my mom and dad. If I fell in love with this little girl. I really did. And I told my mom and dad, I says, if it's okay with you and everything, I says, I'm going to see about adopting this little Vietnamese girl. Bring her home. Or work on getting her where I can get her. And they wrote back and said, well, if you want it, if you want her, I sent a picture of them to her and said, if you want her, we'll take care of her while you're in the service. And so I went and talked to my commanding officer and whatever he had to do. And anyway, I was making arrangements, and I think it was about a month, maybe a month and a half before I left on my second tour to come back after our second tour. We got word that the Viet Cong was going to blow the bridge side, that they were going to overrun us. And so I told her, I said, don't come to the bridge side tomorrow night. Let's just stay in the village. I said, because the Viet Cong was supposed to hit the bridge. Okay. Viet Cong hit the village and threw a grenade into that hooch where she was sleeping and killed her. And I found out I was the cause of her death. On account of the mayor or the spokesman for the village told me that some of the older people had told the Viet Cong that America was going to adopt her. And that just, I think about her every now and then, especially when I look at a picture of my daughter, on account of my daughter. She's got brown eyes, but she had long hair and built just, as she was growing up, built just about like this little girl. And so it just bothers me every now and then. I get to thinking about it. I almost get tears in my eyes, you know, because I just think it should have been, she would have been up about right around 50 years old today, but she never got a chance.
Would you join the Navy again?
Would I join the Navy again? To be right down honest with you, I would probably join the Air Force if I went back in, because boy, they got better living facilities. We went up to Vandenberg Air Force Base. It was like walking into a hotel. Yes. They had people clean the rooms for them. We had, you know what we had? We had a whole line of barracks in a row, you know, maybe 100 men in a barracks. Mm-hmm. And you had a locker and that was it. Yep. No, I'd probably join the Air Force if I went back.
I'd like to do a word association. I'll give you some words and you give me your reaction.
Okay.
The first one is boot camp.
Tough.
MCB 8.
Well, I'm going to tell you what MCB 8 is supposed to stand for Mobile Construction Battalion. But you ask any CB that I was stationed with, they would say confused bastards. I am dead serious. We were always confused.
Fubai.
Fubai. Trouble.
July.
Trouble.
Vietnam.
Forget it.
Why were we there?
As I said, forget it. No reason, don't have no clue.
Ho Chi Minh.
Death trap.
Lyndon Johnson.
I'm going to keep that one to myself.
Richard Nixon.
Good guy.
How do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? As a person that didn't lie to you, didn't steal from you, and did what I said I was going to do.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, though.
Where'd you meet your wife?
Where'd I meet? Dairy Boy Drive-In.
Where?
Dairy Boy Drive-In of Jack Perry.
Yeah. Dairy Boy Drive-In.
Yep.
What's your wife's name?
Julia.
Julia.
Yeah, it was Julia. Well, Julia Jane Bauer was her maiden name.
Okay.
And like I said, she taught for 40 years and she retired, and I give her credit. I couldn't have done it. I could not have been a teacher, no way on this earth, because I wouldn't be able to take that from them little squirts.
Well, sir, this is an excellent interview.
Well, I didn't lie to you about anything. That's one thing I won't. I'll tell you the truth. You don't, like my dad always told us kids when we were growing up, you can't say anything good about somebody, keep your mouth shut. You don't lie to them, you don't steal from them, and that's my philosophy.
Well, I want to thank you for your service and thank you for the interview.
I want to thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. And again, this is June 27th, 2018. My name is Joe Todd. This has been an interview with Henry Waters in Bartonville, Oklahoma. Thank you.